Yeah, thank you. Well, first, let me just say, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here with the Power to Fly audience. Look, from a job perspective, I love change. If I'm doing the same role for too long, I get bored and I will chase a new challenge. So I've had the privilege of having a new role every few years. I happen to operate well when there's some level of urgency or even crisis because it's when all hands are on deck. Everyone's bringing their A game, the team comes together, and there's typically some level of achievement milestone accomplishment at the end of that crisis. And so the team can look back with pride and say, we did that, we accomplished that, we're stronger, we're better, and I can say, I've learned something, I have new and expanded relationships. So there's always some sort of silver lining. What I would say is over my career, I've become comfortable stepping into discomfort because it allows me to broaden my knowledge and I thrive in those areas where it's undefined, uncharted territory where I get to figure it out. The reason why is because nobody can tell me I'm doing it wrong when it's never been done before. And I'm the only one brave enough to step up or step into it. And so I would say that attitude and approach has actually, served me well. And it's allowed me to lead many big, complex, hairy projects or productize new revenue capabilities. These have not only built up my skill set and my resume, but most importantly, what I would say is it's built up my confidence to tackle whatever is put in front of me, which happens to have, honed my expertise within service delivery and tech solution deployment. So, look, don't get me wrong, I stress out in these moments, in these situations, because I put a lot of pressure on myself to deliver. Sometimes I ask myself, like, oh my gosh, what have I done in stepping into this role? But, in the end, I'm always proud of the leadership that I have provided. It's always a team environment where together we are delivering, and I have never regretted staying that course. So my MO is, look, if I really want to do something, if I really believe in it, I become hyper focused, driven, and I am going to find a way to do it. And those are some of the unique strengths and superpowers that I bring into my work. So what I would say is, always know your why, know your strengths and your superpowers, and position yourself for roles where you get to use those talents. You'll be happier in your work and you'll be a better employee.
Something I feel like we need to highlight and just like say louder for the people in the back is when you said that you didn't have to worry about somebody telling you were doing it wrong because nobody else has ever tried what you're trying. So how can it be wrong? Because you can't find a solution anyway. So now I get to go do what I want. Those are magic words. I wish I had heard that 15 years ago. That is fabulous. I love, love, love this. And you're right, it kind of does highlight that there are a lot of skills that have served you well in various roles. And notice most of this stuff we're talking about is not necessarily hard skills, right? They're soft skills. It's communication, it's resiliency, it's curiosity. Like these are all they're all things that we tend to be referred to in a bit of a pejorative way of like, well, yeah, of course you know how to talk to people, communication, blah, blah. And it's like, no, there's a lot more that goes into it. And those are clearly skills that have served you well, across diverse fields. I like this. Um,
Absolutely.
Now, right, currently you are in a career transition period. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've used this time to think about what you want to do next? And I want to touch a little bit about how you maintain motivation and momentum, especially if, in this career transition, you're uncertain or there's any setbacks to the plan or the road that you think you're on.
Yeah, thank you. I've been using this time to focus on me and my overall wellness, giving myself permission to decompress, to reset and recharge. And I'm just going to like take a moment to take a step back on some of my life journey because it's going to give context and I'll circle back to why I really needed this time off. But, kind of my upbringing all the way through college, I was a competitive gymnast. So my jobs as a kid through college was education and gymnastics. And then I graduated, which, by the way, I went to college on scholarship and competed college or competed gymnastics in college. So then I graduated and I had to work 3 jobs to keep myself afloat because I wasn't going back home and I didn't want to ask my parents for money. So I've been going nonstop for decades. And that also includes time as a working mom, raising 2 kids who are now teenagers. And then at my previous company, I was with them for 12 years. My last role was serving as their first head of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But before that role, I served in a lot of leadership positions within B2B to build up that division, building out an enterprise class portfolio of services and solutions, including a 24/7 tier 3 tech center. So my career has always been sell, build, deploy. I've always been on the go because I always sought new challenges, but that also kind of placed me at the edge of my capacity circle. And so it's uncomfortable operating at the edge of your ability. But when you complete that project, when you complete that mission, it's no longer operating at the edge of your ability. It's now part of your new core. And you've grown greater capacity and capability to tackle bigger assignments and projects. So, kind of now I've found myself in this unexpected transition. So it's given me a lot of time to reflect back on my career, my wins, my successes across the many different functional roles. What I would say is, I don't think that there are a lot of female Asian sales leaders who have also transitioned into DEI at a top brand. So I feel proud thinking, yeah, I've done all of that. But now it's like, you know, what do I do with this experience? How do I market myself here? Am I labeled just based on the last role that I served in? What are the job trends that are happening? Do I need new skills? I mean, all of these questions are both exciting but also, overwhelming. And I'll say candidly, I am pretty inexperienced at looking for a new job. I don't think I'm that good at it. I'm still looking for a job, especially in this difficult, uncertain market. But I'm going to say, with the help of a career coach, I have written down on paper um, my values, what makes me happy, my strengths, my goals. And I keep this with me and I read it multiple times a day to keep my brain focused on the positive so I don't spiral downwards. I've never been without a job in my adult life. So this feeling, it's very foreign to me. And it started off with self-pity, asking myself, why me? What did I do wrong? Who did I piss off? What were the warning signs that I missed? But
What
I
why
have
am
this
I not
reminder,
getting hired? Why am I not hearing back? Like
all
all of
of the
those things.
negativity. That's right. So I have this reminder card at my desk. So I keep it with me. I take it to conferences with me as well. But I am retraining my brain to stay positive. And my career coach has told me it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. So I haven't stopped the negativity from entering my brain, but I do recognize when it happens, and so I can stop myself from spiraling down. But what I tell myself, right now is, though I don't have a paid corporate job, I'm incredibly busy. And so what I say is, paid work will come to me when it's time. And right now, it is my time to reset. And this is a gift that I've been asking for. I needed to reconnect, I needed to recharge, and it's time to upskill as well because there is something bigger out there for me. I'm too good to sit on the sidelines.
Heck yes, I can tell that just from 5 minutes of talking to you. Like it's yes, I love that this is something that you're using the time to do something that you haven't really either wanted to do or had time to do before. And truly like leaning, being able to sit in uncomfortable is an invaluable skill, absolutely invaluable, because you will then have an idea more of like, okay, what is it actually about this situation that I don't like? As opposed to just saying, nope, this is gross, I gotta leave, bye. And then you don't really learn anything necessarily. But I do think it's really great that, it's something that maybe you didn't really want to do, but now that you've been vaguely forced to do it, it's, paying dividends for you. I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. You got to take advantage of the moment.
Yeah. All right. Why do you think that it's important to share these experiences, especially struggles or challenges, with other people, especially with when you're in times of a career transition? Because this is a time that it can really very easily feel like I don't know what to tell people, so like I don't want to talk about it, or you don't want to be like make that the entirety of your personality for however long it takes to find a job. So what do you think? Why do you think it's important to tell these experiences and share this with other people?
Yeah. I think that there can be a tendency to keep the negative feelings about a job elimination close within. We hide our feelings about it. We don't want to let people know that we're hurt, that we're sad, that we're embarrassed. We're not comfortable being vulnerable. I mean, many still believe that vulnerability is a weakness. I'm a huge fan of Brené Brown. It was about 15 years ago that I came into her work and that I learned vulnerability is not a weakness. In fact, it is the most accurate measure of courage. When we don't talk about the struggle, we build up this story in our head and we can start to feel like an outlier, thinking we're abnormal, and we can start to feel shame. And it just turns into this terrible, vicious cycle of feeling less than. And then we put it on auto replay. So I know firsthand the emotions of a job loss or a job change. I mean, they're real. The uncertainties, the anxiety, it can be a lot. But I think it's appropriate to share these struggles because it helps normalize the emotions across the spectrum versus just glossing over at the end. I got the job, here's what I did, and it's all tied up nicely in a bow. When we share the struggles, it helps us to prepare. We learn coping strategies, and then we utilize resources so that we can become better and stronger. Very few of us get handed the perfect job and it's given to us on a silver platter. We have to work for it. And it's not easy. It can be humbling to ask for help, but be open for that help because it really can come from anywhere. And so, what I will say is, when I learned that my job was eliminated, I was stunned. I had dedicated 12 years to that company. I'd accomplished a lot. I was deeply committed to the work. Being exited really left me feeling sad and bewildered. And never having been in this situation before, I really didn't know what to do. It happened right around Christmas time. It was just awful trying to pretend that everything is okay. I was not okay. I was incredibly hurt, not understanding what had happened or why. And, for me personally, I'm just wired in a way where much of my identity is tied to my professional career. And so when I lost that, it was just a big personal loss for me. And I really wasn't equipped to handle it. So as much as I tried to, let go of that sadness and anger, it stayed with me for months. And I thought I was doing a good job letting it go. I thought I had made progress. But the
Because we
truth
don't
is,
talk about it. So out of sight, out of mind. No, it's not a big deal. It's fine.
yeah, so I stuffed a lot of it kind of like inside, which means I just still carried it with me. So it's so easy to say, just let go of it, move on. Well, no kidding. But no one really tells you how. And so through the generosity of my network, I was introduced to a new coach, Jose Longoria. You got to look him up. Y'all need to work with him. He's fantastic. But he and I had an intro meeting, and I cried when talking about my job exit. And I was so embarrassed and I was apologizing and I'm like, I'm so sorry. But the tears like just kept flowing out. I couldn't stop them. And so he said to me, he's like, look, we have got to close this job loss grief cycle so that you can move on. And he gave me very specific actionable steps on what to do. So realizing I was, clearly carrying this baggage with me, I'm like, what do I have to lose? I'm like, I'm going to do these steps tonight. So at the risk of them sounding a little bit odd, I'm going to share them with you on what I did. Now, I learned by doing. So I like to see it, feel it, hear it. That's kind of how I how I operate. And that's probably why this method was, so effective for me. But my objective was I needed to let go of the sadness associated with that job loss. And what I did was I hand wrote on a piece of paper a very grateful letter to my old company, thanking them for all of the good things I experienced, that I learned, that I gained. I then read that paper letter to myself out loud. At the end, I wrote PS at the end of the letter, and I said, now I have to let you go. I went outside to my garden, which is my Zen place. I dug a hole in my garden, I put the letter in it, and I burned it. Then I buried the ashes, and I said goodbye, and then I went to bed. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's not like all of the baggage magically lifted, but what I will tell you is I feel better about it, and clearing out that clutter in my head and, kind of working hard to get rid of the toxins in my body. I feel a lot lighter. It's been great. And so, in my opinion, it's so easy to leave when everything is going well, when everything's in place, when all of the support structure is there for you. But we don't always have that. We're struggling to keep up. We're juggling too much. We don't want to tell anyone. We put our armor on thinking that it protects us from the harsh judgments, the darts being thrown around. Um, We don't want to appear incapable for fear we're going to lose our job. We're pretending that everything's okay. We're suffering in silence. But I believe when we share these struggles, when we share some of the vulnerabilities, it lets people know that we're real, that we're genuine, we're open, which can establish trust, which then creates new opportunities and pathways for something, whatever that may be. That's why I believe sharing is important. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, absolutely love not just like the ritual sounds like a bit woo-woo, but you know what I mean? Like I love the like concreteness of it mixed with, the kind of like emotional journey there. I've I've lost a lot of jobs in my tenure. But there's definitely been a couple that like I was heartbroken. I was just it was like being heartbroken. I was still in love with that org. I really believed in in the mission. I wanted to be, a credit to them. I wanted to be part of the team that was doing all these great things. And it was crushing. It was debilitating in a way that I was not prepared for. So I can only imagine what that's like to go through from like the sea level. It really does, it messes with your head. It messes with like, am I valuable? Am I doing the right thing in life? There's so much that comes from that. And I really also love that you talked about and kind of wrote down for yourself the good things that came from that job. I feel like when you leave, especially if it's not under, the best circumstances, it's very easy to treat that as like, well, that was an unsuccessful relationship. We're going to walk away from it. It's like, no, 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 no. There were good things that happened there and lessons learned. And so I love that you highlighted what you learned from that job and, what you could take forward with you. That's really cool. All
Yeah, you got
right.
to keep positive.
Oh, sorry. So, as you are going through this job search, obviously it's a large time of uncertainty. Are there any like practices or strategies that have helped you to stay grounded, focused, and positive in this journey that you're still on?
Yeah. It was really only at my exit that I realized how damaging the years of stress was on my body. I was incredibly burnt out. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I had constant headaches. I was really unhappy. And, I believe I was probably working myself into an early grave. And so I kind of think about the analogy of the frog in the boiling water. So I just kind of think I got scooped out just in time. So, at the exit, I've really, invested a lot of time in my overall wellness, which includes my mental wellness, so I can recharge. Soon after I was exited, I threw myself into a real estate side hustle that I have. I think it was in my intro about the Airbnb. So we had, I collected a lot of furniture. I had a 4-car garage full of furniture and stuff. And so I started refurbing antiques, and I was finding all kinds of free and cheap deals, and I was fixing things up. I worked my butt off sanding furniture, restaining, turning ugly stuff that people didn't want anymore into really beautiful functional pieces of furniture. And that gave me something to do that wasn't job related. It allowed me to tap into my creative side and use different parts of my brain. And so I felt this great sense of accomplishment every time I finished restoring something. I would send pics to my friends because, look, I'm not going to lie, I need a little positive affirmation.
Oh
But
yeah,
then
come on.
seeing it all come together in the Airbnb really, made me feel good. It was a lot of fun. And so though I restored furniture, what I would say is that work really helped to restore me. And I feel like putting that Airbnb together was like putting myself back together. So besides kind of like the benefits of that Airbnb distraction, I integrated other wellness practices into my daily routine, which have helped to keep me strong, grounded, and positive. I had a lot of headaches. I mentioned that. So I had to go see an acupuncturist, and he gave me some daily exercises, which has helped me in relieving that neck tension, the shoulder tension, the back tension. And one
Yeah.
of the things that he told me and I do daily is I hang on a chin up bar. And I hang for 30 seconds in an overgrip and 30 seconds in an undergrip. And I do it multiple times a day. And that has like removed the headaches and the tension. It's gone away. I also have worked hard to improve my posture. So I do daily stretches, helps with my blood flow. I write my daily gratitude journal. I do a morning meditation routine. I've already been doing the meditation routine, but it's part of the overall practice. And it's 30 to 60 seconds in the morning, standing in the sun with breathing practices and really trying to be grounded and listening to my inner voice. But the last thing that I've done, which I think is really important, um, I've incorporated new daily learning into my routine, and I have made a deliberate effort to learn more about AI and increase my AI acumen so I can be conversant in the topic. AI is happening. Gen AI adoption has accelerated rapidly. The stats are astounding. ChatGPT has like over 1 billion monthly visitors and growing. All major industries will need a skilled AI professionals. I've added a couple of foundational AI certifications to my credentials to increase my business understanding of it. I now listen to an everyday AI podcast by Jordan Wilson. I'm sure there are many other good ones. I like his because it gives me daily news updates. He has really wonderful guest speakers and he frames it in a digestible way in which I can understand. I mentioned earlier about Brene Brown. She also has a podcast series called Living Beyond Human Scale, where she talks a lot about AI. I'm not going to tell you about that, but go check it out, listen to it. It's astounding. Also, to complement my AI upskilling, last week I completed my youth mental health first aid certification. So I think about, as AI continues to evolve, the conversations must include ethical AI governance, guardrails, policies. We already know there's bias in AI. How is this affecting our youth's mental health? How are they being impacted in this digital age, the deep fakes, the distorted realities? I don't know the answers, but I'm trying to do my best to learn. And so this is where I see opportunity to kind of bring in my sales, my tech deployment expertise, and my DEI background. This is where I see it all coming together. Human involvement is required in the AI decision making, and we must have diverse representation throughout the entire life cycle. And I'm going to give a call out to the women. We have got to insert ourselves into the AI mix. This tech wave is happening. It is moving fast. Don't wait. And so I used to be afraid to learn about AI. I was intimidated. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know anything about large language models. I didn't know the tools. I didn't know where to start, so I didn't. But I flipped a switch in my brain and I said, I've got to learn about this. And I chose to listen to AI panels at tech conferences that I attended so I could hear how it was being talked about. And I've just continued to take steps to increase my knowledge.
I love that.
And sorry, just real quick, the last thing that I want to say about this, part of this is about reframing. You can think about the negativity, but you can also think about like the productive net gains that you can get from a job exit. So for me, it's, my wellness. It is about upskilling, which includes AI. It is about expanded relationships. And really, it's about having time to focus on the things that matter, which includes my family. And I have to give a shout out to my husband, Will DeWeese, who has given me the time and space to really figure this out. When I go negative, when I feel bad about myself for being a cost center, he is there to pick me up. He is my biggest champion. He reminds me that this is not my fault. And I just don't thank him enough for all that he has done to keep our family running and to, keep me strong and moving forward during this challenging time.
Well, I mean, it makes a ton of sense too, right? Like none of us, I'm a firm believer that it doesn't just take a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to do basically anything in life. And so I am very, I very much identify with what you're talking about. I'm a freelancer. I'm able to do this and, do this job that I love because I have my husband who has an amazing job and very much supports me. And, it is really important that we cultivate these relationships in our lives of people who will support you, not just, financially or practically speaking, but like people who really are going to be there for you when the chips are down. People who are trying to support you because they want to see, they want more for you than you want for yourself. And so I think it is, it can't be ignored how important the role of those people is, especially if you're going through a job search that, might last a while. It's something that everybody needs, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left and 2 questions. I really want to make sure we get to all of them because these are great questions. As you reflect on your career journey, are there any aspirations or goals you have for the future, and what drives these ambitions?
Look, I love that feeling when you're firing on all cylinders, you're working in your zone, you're using all of your talents, you're part of a fun winning team. I mean, that is a great feeling and it's really special. I miss it. So I'm not ready for my career to be over. There are a lot more big wins left in me and I have a lot to give. So, I look forward to getting back into the workplace. And for me, my core value is making a difference. And I love doing that in the workplace. I'm not done. And that is what drives me to keep moving forward. But it's also not just about finding a job. I mean, I want to be a good wife. I want to be a good mom. I want to be a good provider for my family. I don't always get it right, but I do strive for improvement. And right now in this time, I'm trying to show them what resiliency looks like. I fell. And life is not always rosy. My kids need to see what it looks like to pick yourself back up and to keep moving forward, even when it's hard or when it's uncertain. I want to show them what responsibility looks like, whether it's paid or unpaid work, because all of it matters. And then I'm also, wanting to show them what happiness looks like beyond the stuff. Even the smallest of experiences can bring joy, like me driving my daughter to school every day in that 5-minute car ride. It's a precious moment. I love it.
Very cool. All right, in the last minute we have, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice at an earlier point in your career, when and where would that be?
What I would say is, early on, invest time in building relationships with people that want to help you in your professional development. And there are 3 kind of key people: a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. And they are 3 very different roles. And sometimes I feel like people use the words interchangeably, but they're different. And if you'll just humor me, I'll give a very brief explanation for those that, aren't crystal clear on it. But, a coach, they tend to ask you questions to help guide you in finding your own answers from within. They help make sense of the issues so you can find your pathway forward. A mentor, they give advice, insight, expertise in a particular topic area. And an example might be a mentor kind of giving advice on how to get into people management. A sponsor, they are a highly influential leader who advocates for your career advancement. They talk about you when you are not in the room. They are positioning you for assignments that give you visibility. They are using their influence to directly facilitate your progression. And so for me, hard work just isn't going to get you there alone. It's going to take you so far. And personally, for me, I wish that I better understood the role of a sponsor to get me kind of, into the senior executive levels earlier. And what I would say is, don't rely on your company to provide these resources to you. You need to take an active role in establishing these relationships, and it might require investment on your part. So I knew what these roles were, but I don't think I truly understood their value. I guess that's what I would say.
That's excellent advice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tami. This has been a wonderful afternoon. I've very much enjoyed getting to know you and learning more about your career journey. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with our audience members. We very much appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to chat again soon.
Thank you, Meg. Appreciate it.